Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful Overbooked, and it's Saturday, so that means it must be time for Newsworthy, and that means for the first time since getting married, I got Mr. Jeremy Lambert here. There's the ring. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm well. This is a fake ring. This is not the actual ring that you saw at the wedding, Joel Pearl. This is the work ring, essentially, so my fingers don't explode while I type all of these articles. But I am well, Joel. Married life is well. How are you?
I'm doing well. My ring of honor sits upon my desk, as it always does, and it's always ready for a rainy day. I didn't actually wear it when I went to visit you guys, so there you go.
I didn't notice. I knew you were married. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't notice that you didn't have a ring on. I didn't notice that, a bunch of people were there who were married. I didn't know if they had rings on. My attention was on one person only, Joel. I didn't care about the rest of you.
Yes, and they looked lovely, and it was a very, very fun event. I'm glad to have gone, glad to have visited, glad to have hung out with you for a couple days. And now we got to talk about the news because you took last week off, and so did we as a result. So instead, we're back this week because Jeremy decided to come back to work and did a good job this week, didn't you?
I guess I came back to work.
But you're here.
That's what happened. I'm here. I'm old. I'm tired, but I'm back at work.
There we go. You guys know how it goes. We pick 5 articles from the week that either flew right by you or stuck on your news feed. You're going to take a look at them right now. Number 5, MJF on missing AEW Double or Nothing meet and greets. Tony Khan was being a fucking mark. Jeremy, you gotta stop with the swearing in these headlines. My God, I gotta beep everything out.
I know. They're getting bleeped on television now too. So this is with Sam Roberts on Not Sam Wrestling, and I thought like MJF did like a bunch of interviews before Grand Slam. Did the Hawani one. He did the Barstool one. And I think those are the 2 big ones. And this one was a little bit after that. But I thought Sam Roberts did a really good job with this. And maybe it's because there were 2 interviews before where they kind of asked the same questions. And MJF even said in this interview, like, ask me something that nobody's asked. And Sam asked him, like, okay, what happened with the meet and greet? Because nobody had asked about the meet and greet. Everybody asked about the plane ticket. Of course, they're asking, oh, what happened at All Out? You're gone for 3 months, whatever it is. But he's like, what about the meet and greet? Because that's what kicked this whole thing off with MJF, is he missed that meet and greet before Double or Nothing, and then the story came out of unhappy, plane ticket, still showed up, all that stuff. So I thought it was a good question by Sam. MJF, he gave maybe the kayfabe, not kayfabe answer of like Tony Khan's being a f***ing mark, cost my company, I think he said $10,000. But then he gave the answer of like, they were so worried about me that they kicked in the door and did a wellness check on me because they thought I was having a Brian Pillman moment here, which had been a dark Twitter kind of rumor. And MJF does he kayfabe stuff? What is he telling the truth? Who knows? But he said it, and I think there's some truth to it because MJF, as much as he is a character, also says a lot of truth in his characterness. So I really like this interview. I really like this answer from MJF. And man, MJF, he's good. He's good. He's good on television most weeks. He's good in the media. He was good in this interview. I thought Sam Roberts did a good job too.
I know a lot of people take issue with Sam Roberts because he appears on WWE programming. Yeah. I understand that. Some people go as far as to call him a dork, but here we are. We're all wrestling fans. We're all dorks to some degree. True. So whatever. But no, Sam is a really, really solid interviewer. He's really good at this job. Whenever I've listened to his podcasts or his interviews, I've always walked away saying, not only is he really good at this, but he asks really interesting and intelligent questions. And this was no different, especially with a guy like MJF who has that. Is he not when it comes to kayfabe or anything like that? But this was the right question to ask, in my opinion, asking about the meet and greet and asking, right away, MJF is like, my company lost $10,000 that day. And that's wild. Yeah. Just that idea alone is like, I'm listening. And I think it was really good for both guys. Really good chemistry, really good article. Anything else you want to add about this? Yeah.
Well, Sam clearly has like a rapport with MJF and a history with MJF. Like they touched on it a couple of times of like they did the interview before AEW was a thing or when it just became a thing and whatnot. So they've got a history and stuff. And that, of course, made things more comfortable. And you mentioned the word chemistry. Like you can tell they were bouncing off each other a little bit too. So that helps with any interview, no matter who you're talking to, no matter who your interview is, no matter who your subject is. If you talk to that person before and you have a relationship, some type of or rapport with them, some type of chemistry with them, it's going to typically make the interview better.
I can tell you that I've done a couple of interviews where chemistry just isn't there. Or sometimes I've done on-screen stuff with people, and if the chemistry is not there, it's not there. But when it's there and it's entertaining, it's the best. You and I were talking off air about characters, about personalities, and how much they bring to the content that we create. So Sam Roberts and MJF are both absolutely those types of characters and those personalities.
I do a lot of shows with a lot of people, Joel Pearl, and I can honestly tell you this is the most frustrating I am every week doing a show with you. I guess the most frustrated I am every week. I feel like it's the worst show of the week.
It is. That's why I'm here. Do an Impact show every Thursday.
You give me nothing,
channel.
Joel. You just dance around questions. You don't actually say anything.
Stonewall
No comment. Very frustrated when I talk to you, Joel.
Maybe you should just do the read for the next big WWE PLE, and then people will give you access.
We're going to get in trouble. I'm going to get myself in trouble, as I typically do.
It's fine. There are other people we can pick on. Happy Corbin says Triple H is trying to bring the edge back to his character. That's story number 4. Baron Corbin spoke to the Johnny Dare morning show and had quite a lot to say about his notable absence from WWE right now.
Yeah, hasn't been on as of this recording. Who knows? He might be back on SmackDown tonight, and then we were just talking about like, oh, Happy Corbin was back. There was an edge back to him. But as of this recording, he's not been on TV since September, early September 2nd. In fact, when they did he disappeared into the white limo gimmick. And I think this was his first interview since all that. Like he used to do interviews like sort of regularly, but that's kind of slowed. And this one on Johnny Dare, speaking of rapport, like he definitely has rapport with these people. Friend of the show, they were bantering about throughout the show of just like his history and his life and everything, and like anecdotal stories when they were hanging out and everything. So there was a clear chemistry, a clear familiarity with Corbin and Johnny Dare and the co-host here, which made things easier. So they just asked about Triple H and what it's like kind of working with him. And it's been months now. A lot of people have given a lot of the same answers of great, creative freedom, different vibe, different energy, positivity, blah, 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 blah. And Corbin kind of in the same way, but he did say like, yeah, Triple H, he kind of gave me that sort of rock edge when I was the lone wolf in NXT. And now we're kind of trying to bring that back with SmackDown and everything. So considering we haven't really heard from Corbin, I thought this was an interesting thing. And once again, when it comes to chemistry and rapport between subject and interview, this was a good job. If you haven't listened to the full interview, there isn't too much wrestling with it, but you get to know Corbin a little bit more. And I don't know if I've said this on this show, another show, on wherever, like Corbin, you can hate him on screen. Dude seems kind of cool. Like seems like a pretty chill guy, like outside of the wrestling world with the grilling and a former football player and everything. And he gets it. Like he gets the wrestling stuff. I don't have an issue with Corbin. I understand if you want to hate his character and some of his booking throughout the years, but as far as Baron Corbin, the person goes, I feel like I'd hang out with him and have a nice time.
Yeah, he'd probably cook you a really good meal, probably have a really good drinks. And you know what? So this is funny. I'm thinking back to an interview that, of all people, Sam Roberts did with Baron Corbin before a WWE house show in like White Plains, New York. This interview was like it's not 5 years ago, but it's quite a few years ago. And it was probably one of the best Baron Corbin interviews ever because those two guys, A, had chemistry, and B, knew each other, just like Johnny Dare and Baron Corbin do here. And it really just made you appreciate the guy. And that's fine. I like that. That being said, speaking of the grilling, that should be his character. They call him Grilling Corbin.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm all about it. Anything else from this interview that's worth mentioning?
Just Baron Corbin, when he comes back, I expect we'll see a little bit of a different Baron Corbin.
He'll have longhorns.
He might have some longhorns.
He'll be a big Texas A&M fan. He'll be like, hook 'em.
Hook 'em, yeah.
Hook 'em.
Yes.
I know nothing about college football. Anyway, number 3, Paul London says he's accepting bookings again. He's a little late on the draw because he could have been the White Rabbit, but instead he spoke to his old running buddy, Rene Dupree, on his podcast, Cafe de Rene. And yeah, he's got the big announcement was that he's accepting bookings again.
So Cafe de Rene Dupree, he does this podcast, I think every week. I feel like it's like twice a week at this point. He gets various guests and everything on, but Paul London is like a regular on this. And London even says it, like, he's not asked. He's like, I'm going to make an announcement. And he's like, I wanted to give it to the Cafe de Rene people first because you guys are so kind to me and everything. So he makes this announcement, and Paul London is accepting bookings again, which I don't know if Paul London has been like canceled or anything. I've not heard anything of the sort, but he just kind of like disappeared for a little while. And I've always liked Paul London. I really liked his stuff in ROH in WWE, and then the White Rabbit stuff that he did in Lucha Underground. I've always thought of him as a good worker. And I'm not saying like, oh, they missed the boat on Paul London. This guy could have been a superstar and like world champion and everything, but he was always like a good worker and someone who was like captivating in the ring. So I don't know what Paul London has left at 42. He mentioned that, like, you know, he said he's in the Blake Griffin phase of his career. And if you know anything about basketball, Blake Griffin was like one of the most explosive athletic players of all time, just dunking over everything, including Kia cars in a dunk contest and whatnot. And then once he lost that explosiveness and athleticism, he kind of had to redefine his game a little bit to be more of a passer and more of like a 3-point shooter and everything. And like some areas he's gotten better at, other areas like his 3-point shooting can still be not so great. So that's what London kind of equated this to, is like, hey, maybe we ain't seeing like Paul London doing crazy shit anymore, but Paul London could probably still tell some good stories and work well. And I think he could be valuable to people who want that knowledge from somebody. And he seemed, and this was my biggest takeaway from the way he was talking, he seemed genuinely interested in like helping and trying to make things better. It wasn't a thing of like, I'm coming back, let me do let me just get a payday and, just go on a indie tour and just make a bunch of money or make however much money that I can. It seemed like he was like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be accessible. If you have any questions, like whether it be in the ring, outside the ring, of like how to not fuck up, like, hey, let me know, ask me, and we'll talk about things. So he seemed genuinely excited and genuinely like happy to return and help and try to help the next generation, which I think is the most important part of all of this. Because if you're just taking bookings to take bookings and you're just going to return just to have matches, cool. But it seems like he wants to do more than just like, let me go out and just have a match. He wants to try to help the next generation. So good on Paul London. Always liked him.
So two things. One, the mention of the Blake Griffin career and dunking over Kias. He says maybe he won't be dunking over Kias, but what if he's giving Canadian destroyers on top of Kias? What if that's the Paul London gimmick?
We could see it. He did mention that, like, I'm going to teach people how not to stand around for 20 seconds looking stupid while someone dives on you, which is great because we need love that to hear that in wrestling right now.
Absolutely. And how to preserve your body. I think there's a lot of education that Paul London can provide because he's definitely been around for a long time. So you mentioned, I also don't know if he's been canceled or something's happened, but he was scheduled to appear at the Ring of Honor Past versus Present show in 2020. Yeah. That got canceled due to COVID. So a little bit of a personal story. Before the pandemic, I worked in music. I was a touring musician, and then COVID hit and I kind of pivoted to doing this. And people have asked, are you going to go back to being a musician? And my answer is kind of yes and no. I'm still a little about, COVID and getting sick and being out later than I need to be because I am a dad now. And that stuff has kind of stopped me from taking bookings in my world. I could see, not that I'm saying Paul London's a father, therefore, but I think because of COVID, he may have been playing it safe for the time being. And just kind of realizing now that this could be his opportunity to come back.
Yeah, and it could be that as well, 100%. That he just feels more comfortable doing stuff. So whatever the reason that he's getting back out there, I'm happy to see Paul London back. And I imagine by the end of the year, you'll start seeing Paul London in independent promotions around the country.
Paul London and Rene Dupree as a tag team.
He mentioned that. He mentioned, hey, let's be a tag team and stuff. So we might see that. I think Renee's doing stuff with like Noah or All Japan right now. So yes, we could see it over there in Japan.
Who knows? Could be. But let's go stay in Japan. Number 2, Clark Connors, New Japan Pro Wrestling's World TV title was made for me. Clark Connors was speaking to Ringsiders Wrestling. And first of all, Jeremy, you've seen this New Japan World TV Championship.
Yeah.
It looks like a TV or a watch. You got to keep it under 15 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like the World Series of Poker bracelet, just in like title form. That's what I think of when I see this thing.
I just appreciate the fact that New Japan has put together a challenge belt that has all wrestlers in a company that cannot do matches under 15 minutes, making them do matches under 15 minutes. That's the kind of belt I want to see challenged for in my pro wrestling.
My wheelhouse when it comes to matches is like 12 to 18, which I guess the median there is 15 minutes. So I love it. I'm all for this title. I think it's great. I don't need these long New Japan main events that go 45 minutes. So I'm excited for this. I did find it hilarious. It's like, we're going to focus on young talent and high action matches. And it's like, here's Evil and here's Yoshihashi. Like, I had no knock on Yoshihashi. Like, he's fine, but like, here's Evil with his slow and plotting matches and everything. Like, yeah. And I think like Tomohiro Ishii, again, great wrestler, but pretty sure he's not a young talent at this stage of his career. So the bracket is kind of not in line with what they say they're going for when it comes to the championship, but we'll see what the finals are. We'll see who the first champion is, and then maybe they can go from there with it.
I love this quote. Don't get me wrong. Okada, Jay White, Will Ospreay, all these guys, they do their 30-minute barn burners. Wrestle Kingdom goes 35 minutes, G1, whatever the F. That's great and all. I could do it if I want to, but I think a good 15-minute go hard match is some of the best wrestling to me. That's Clark Connors, and I think that absolutely sums up you and I, our feelings towards these types of matches.
So Ringsiders did a very good interview. It's like 40 minutes with Clark Connors, and he's been out since July, I believe, with a back injury. And he said he's pretty close to returning. Like, his return got announced, and then Clark is like, yeah, something got mixed up there. Like, I'm not cleared to compete. So then it got pulled. So it seems like he's coming back soon. Clark Connors, one of the young lion guys, maybe not too well known in Japan, does a lot of stuff on like New Japan Strong and everything, but hasn't been featured in any prominent way in New Japan. So for him to come out and just basically say, like, I think that title belongs to me. That's great that they have like these long matches and everything, and they do that style, but like, we don't always need that. It was refreshing to hear, honestly, because I think a lot of people probably feel that way, especially maybe American fans who are like, okay, cool, another like 45-minute New Japan main event. And look, some of these matches are very good, but then there are some, and most of them involved Evil, that it's like, we're just going 40 to 45 minutes to go because this is what we've almost just been used to with New Japan. It's like, yeah, certain people, Okada, Jay White, they can do this style and it makes sense and it works. Other people shouldn't be doing this style just because it's a New Japan main event. So I thought it was a good quote from Clark Connors as far as, one, if he's working or shooting, brother, either way, he's getting his name out there and like throwing himself in the mix for this title. I mean, maybe when he returns to Japan, Okada smacks him in the mouth for talking shit, which, you know, that's a good story too, I guess. But I thought it was a good interview, and I just like the quote from Clark Connors. And I think Ringsiders do good work. I know I've listened to them a handful of times, and I've always come away with something from them because they do good work. And I like the under the radar stuff. Not many people are going to be out there covering Clark Connors interviews. So shout out to Ringsiders getting someone who maybe isn't on the top of the list of people to get when it comes to interview guests.
And congratulations to World TV title winner Toru Yano.
Oh, see, that's who needs to actually win it, though. Like, I know that's like a joke of, oh yeah, high paced and young talent, and it's like, here's Toru Yano winning. I say just put all the titles on Yano. I don't give a shit. Like, I said after Monday, just like, Yano just walks out with the never title, like, his Carl Anderson's in WWE now, and we just accept it. Like, that, we're good. Yano's got it, cool. Well, I don't know how he got it. Who cares? It's Yano.
It's on his DVD. You got to buy the DVD, and it turns out that he stole it out of the bag as Carl was like leaving the last show. Perfect. We just did it. Anyway, it's going to be fun. Let's go to number 1. Saraya Page, formerly from WWE, discusses her decision to sign with AEW and never talk to WWE about wrestling again. Saraya on her Twitch stream had so much to say, talked about her new job, new role with AEW, and definitely confirmed a Fightful Select report that came out a couple of days ago. So Jeremy, go ahead, talk about Saraya.
So she did return to Twitch. I got like the notification on, I think it was like Saturday afternoon, that she was going to be on Twitch. And I was like, all right, cool. Like Saraya is usually very good on Twitch. We know she's not afraid to speak about things that she believes in and set records straight and everything. So I was like, well, she's going to say something. And this was her first like kind of sit down talk since she debuted in Dynamite. And yeah, she had plenty to say. Including that she said she'd never talked to WWE about returning to the ring, which I buy. She talked about just how the AEW deal came together and whatnot. And I've always found her like just very good when it comes to like being on Twitch and everything. And when it comes to like engaging with her fan, like she's built a big community on Twitch, and it's because she is like very engaging with everything. I've always liked her Twitch streams because as a news person, I get some good quotes out of her because she is not afraid to say what she is thinking. It's like, all right, cool. This is an easy story. But as not a news person, someone who's just like watching, I find her to be engaging and personable, and just she's not afraid to just interact with the chat, not afraid to say how she feels. And that can be a turnoff for some people, but I think it's not for a lot of people because that's why she has grown to be as big as she is in the Twitch world.
There you go. I don't have much to add because I personally don't really watch her Twitch stuff.
Well, she did an interview with Jericho as well. Yes. And that came out today, Friday. So I listened to that as well. And it was a lot of rehashing and everything. And this is why I also like listening to stuff like the Twitch stream. Is like, it's not an official interview. She just goes on Twitch and talks. And sometimes you'll give a little bit, sometimes you'll give not as much. And then when you get down and you do a sit down interview, maybe you give a little bit more. But when it came to like the Twitch, she said basically everything she had to say there. And then so with the interview with Jericho, it's like she didn't really say too much. But one thing she did say with Jericho was the Fightful Select story of like she did talk to Triple H. They did reach out. Triple H, I think this is in the Select story as well. Is like Triple H was like kind of surprised they released her. He didn't understand it. And Saraya says that with Jericho is like he didn't even know. Like he was like, wait, you got released? Huh? Like when did this happen? So I thought it was a good interview with Jericho. Jericho, we've praised him plenty when it comes to like his interview skills. I thought he did a good job with this. But yeah, Twitch streaming, man. That's where if you want to, I try to give advice to people on the shows. If you want to like break into news writing and do something that's different than what a lot of people are doing, just find like wrestlers' Twitch streams and just watch that shit and try to just pick something out of it. Even if like it's not like super newsworthy, like obviously Saraya in her first like kind of chat after joining AEW, even if it's just like Speedball Bailey watching old matches and stuff, I guarantee there's an anecdote when he's talking that you can be like, hey, let me write about this, and you can turn it into something. And whether or not it gets picked up on like every website in the world, who knows? But it just shows a work ethic and an ambition that a lot of people are going to have, where it's like, okay, let me cover the latest Renee podcast. Let me cover the latest Jericho podcast. Like those are going to get covered by pretty much everybody. Twitch streams, a lot of wrestlers are on Twitch. If you have the time, listen to it, pick out stories, and write about it, or send them to me. If you don't want to write about it, send them to me, and I'll write about them, and then that helps me as well. So there's my weekly advice for any aspiring news writers out there.
That's right. Send all your work to Jeremy Lambert.
Basically.
That's really all it is. That's right. He'll do the
work.
Like
I'm busy, but
no, you chopping it up with me on a Saturday, talking about the news you wrote. Come on, what else do you have to do?
Yeah. It's not like I'm doing stuff every day or anything, but I want to try to do more and cover everything that I can. So I'll put myself over, I guess, like independent promotions. And I ask for like, hey, send me your results. Like I will make sure it gets covered on Fightful. And it's not that I have all the time in the world to just do these results and whatnot. I want to do as much as I can and just help the wrestling world and help the news cycle as much as I can. And sometimes I feel I do a good job. Other times I feel like I'm failing. But in this instance, when it comes to listening to Twitch and trying to cover more independent wrestling, I guess I'm doing an okay job. But yes, if you listen to Twitch streams and you'd be like, hey, this would be a cool story, send it to me and I'll write about it if it is actually a cool story.
If it's not, we'll bury it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Sure. You want to plug stuff? Do I need to plug stuff? How does this work?
I think it starts with you plugging stuff.
Oh, okay. Keep it locked here. It's Fightful Overbooked. We got cool stuff. Tim and Joel tomorrow at noon. Tag Talk tomorrow at 5. And the next week, stuff and things. FMC on Monday. We got Nick Harrison, who does the Fightful TikTok. Myself and SP3 will be doing our big NBA season preview. So I suspect that'll be a pretty big show. So, if you're a basketball fan, come hang out with us on Monday morning. And then other stuff happening next week as well. The Spotlight every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on youtube.com/Fightful. Myself and Steven Jensen will be covering the world of professional wrestling. If you haven't watched last week's episode, go watch it. Also, go watch as part of it, the interview we did with Diamond Sheik and Jameson Ryan. We talked about it earlier, rapport, chemistry with people. We've talked to those guys a couple of times. They're great. They play off each other well. I feel like we have fun with them. They have fun with us, which is great because anytime like they're going to bury me, I think that's fantastic. So I really enjoy talking to those guys. And Diamond Sheik tells a very good story of the Dynamite Diamond Ring. That the written version's up on Fightful if you want to go check that out. But if you want to listen to like the full interview, you can also do that. So go watch last week's episode. This week, I believe we have Ella J. Ella J is on the show this week. She is now, she's now full time in the world of wrestling. We love Ella, so we're talking to her this week. 9:30 a.m. Eastern, youtube.com/Fightful. The Spotlight. We try to cover a little bit of everything: AEW, WWE, independent promotions, and kind of your major promotions that aren't AEW and WWE, such as Impact, MLW, New Japan, things like that. So show some love.
Plenty of stuff to take in at Fightful Overbooked or the main Fightful channel. Jeremy is at Jeremy Lambert 88. I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPERL. Go follow the Fightful account. Go follow at Fightful. There's plenty of stuff going up there all the time. That's where you can really give us your eyes. Let's get out of here.
Bye, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. We'll see you in the next one. Enjoy your weekend. Cheers.